Well, hello, and welcome to another episode of the Full Quota Podcast. My name is Mpho and Tim. I've got Tim Lace with me. Tim is in Cape Town, and I'm in Joburg, and we've been doing this for the last 4 years, and it's been great. And we're glad that you are joining us. But before we do anything, Tim, how are you doing?
Doing well, mate. Cold and wet, but otherwise good. All good.
Yeah.
I'm happy for the performances that we saw in the first test. We will obviously get into it, but I'm happy for those guys that did perform.
We're gonna get into all of that, and I think there's gonna be an apology from me that you guys are waiting for. So you need to stick around to see how I apologize and if the apology does happen. I'm a little sickly, so there's gonna be another sniffles. So just get through it. But remember, first and foremost, please follow us at Full Quota Pod on X. Subscribe to the Full Quota Podcast on YouTube. If you're watching us on YouTube and you love our content, please do like and subscribe. There's a red button there in the corner. Please do click it, and you'll be notified when we go live. Like today, we didn't go live on Monday. We're going today, right? It's a recording, and yeah, you can interact with us. Please do send through your comments throughout the show. We will answer as we go along. And then on top of that, for our audio people, on the audio channel platforms of Apple Podcasts or Spotify, search for Full Quota Podcast and you'll find us. Very much growing platform. And then you can also buy some coffee at buymeacoffee.com/Full Quota Pod. Thank you for the contributions that are in there. I think we got our latest contribution, and we might talk about it. But yeah, I think thank you very much for that. We might just give our shout outs as well on the show and let you and let our fans know what we're currently undergoing in this month, while the Proteas are also in Zimbabwe and it's still the off season, is we're going through a process of rebranding, and the rebranding comes through in a change of name and logo, and as well as potentially different content pieces and show concepts and all of that. And if you think you've got an idea that could make the show better, please do drop us a comment in the comment section or on Twitter, and just send us a DM, or even just comment. I think Tim put in the tweet there. I think we just need to pin it. And so everyone can just put in the tweet. There were some really great ideas around the name of the podcast. I like the Proteas cricket podcast, the PCP. I think one of our fans and our members did that. That was really cool. I like the PCP. But we're getting around names, and I think the big consensus is that it must be related to South African cricket. Can't just be a generic cricket thing, but it must be related to South African cricket in terms of the name. But yeah, this is your podcast. This is the podcast of the people, and the people shall govern, with President Tim and President Paul presiding over all the comments and decisions. So we're going to try to do this as democratically as possible. But again, this is a democratic state, like some democratic states in Africa, where there's a president who's been there for a very long time, and he'll always get 95% of the public vote. So suggestions are welcome. We may or may not use it, but yeah, just know that it's not a dictatorship, but it's a legalized democracy. That's what I would call it. But anyway, okay, Tim. Anything to add onto that, Tim? Onto our rebranding?
No, I think you've touched over everything. I've just pinned that suggestion for names on our X. So that's Full Quota Pod. So go in there and give us your suggestions. We will be doing that in time for the new domestic season. So there is plenty of time to get your suggestions in, and we will take note of every single one of them.
Yes. What we're looking for is a name that encompasses all of South African cricket, right? Because we don't only talk about Proteas men and Proteas women. We also talk about grassroots cricket and domestic all the way down to grassroots. And to a certain extent, that's what we want to touch on in the new season, talk about grassroots cricket and all and the like. So that's what we're trying to get through. That's 5 minutes. You guys are here to find out if I'm going to apologize to a certain player and what we thought of that Zim South Africa test. Tim, your initial thoughts on that first test in Bulawayo? What did you make of that test? And obviously, we've got points to go into, and we'll do that. But just your initial thoughts around, just playing Zimbabwe in Bulawayo in their winter, which is also our winter.
Yeah. I really enjoyed it. I suppose at the halfway mark, I was a little bit worried and thinking, you know what, this is going to be over in 3 days max. The way Sim went about it from a batting point of view, but I'm glad it went as long as it did. It lasted as long as it did because it gave a majority fringe players a real chance to shine and to show their expertise at this next level, because this is international cricket. I really enjoyed it. It was, for large parts of that test match, it was a contest. We were always in charge, really, but I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the intensity of it. I think the intensity was there, and I think it's actually something that we should do more often. I think we should play Sim more often. Even if it's just a one-off like this every couple of years, I don't think we should go.
Give guys caps.
Yeah, I don't think we should go like 6-7 years without playing Sim. Sim are now a much better side than they were a few years ago. They're a much better side.
And to a certain extent, we saw that, right? And even if it's a tacit agreement to say that it's the guys on the fringes who are going to get game time, that's how you get guys ready for big games, right? You make them play the games on the fringes. Obviously, this game wasn't a World Test Championship game, so it didn't have a lot of consequence, but it had a lot of consequences for the guys on the fringes, because all this series is for guys to put their hands up, for guys to be ready. We've got Pakistan, we've got India at the end of the year, and we need to be ready. We need to figure out a way in which we can, get guys game time, and I think this is great. Outside of an emerging, right? This is an official test match, right? And so it has everything, right? I think Zimbabwe really did surprise me with the batting. Craig Irvine and Sean Williams are just I think they're just missing Sikandar Raza. I wish he was there, because it would have added a little bit more beef, to the team. But yeah, it's a I didn't look. I thought the pitch was good, and I thought it gave a little bit too much to the bowlers. I was thinking that the bowlers were going to toil a lot more. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I think we should have like a bilateral series amongst neighbors. Every 2 years, one comes here, one goes there, if there's a gap, just to help Zimbabwe cricket as well grow, right? And make this some sort of like a tradition. And even if we make it like a because I think it's really good preparation, especially before the start of a long tour. Like, we're going to Pakistan in 2 months, and we're going to India after that, right? So it's good preparation to get the guys who didn't get game time in London, and who didn't get game time earlier in the year, to kind of play test cricket and understand the principles of test cricket, right? I think what this test had was there was a lot of requiring of patience, right? You had to be patient to get your wickets. You also had to build your wickets, and we're going to talk about it when it comes to the bowlers, but also in the batting, right? You couldn't climb into the Zimbabwe bowlers, right? They posed a threat, and you had to nullify that threat in order for you to score. Some nullified that threat by blowing the doors down and scoring boundaries. Others nullified that threat by trying to figure out how to get to the other side and the like. And we're going to talk about all of that as we go through. But I think the first topic in this game, because obviously South Africa won handsomely, is the man of the match, Luandre Pretorius. As advertised, kid's a star. Kid should be in the test squad going forward, not in the starting 11. There's a question about starting 11, because you're going to have to be arguing about dropping Bedders or somebody like that. But that 150 showed us what this kid's potential is. The question is, how do we manage it with tours to Pakistan and to India? I think he's on the plane there in the squad. And how do you manage him in probably conditions he's never faced before? I do think if the next series was at home, I'd consider starting him in some of the games. But what Luandre did, 153 of 160 balls, just gave us what India trying to do with Rishabh Pant. England are trying to do with Ben Stokes there in the lower order, just trying to, Baz ball it up and have him push the game. And it was great to watch. Everyone said everything about him, but like, my word, he is taking to professional cricket like he's been a vet for over 10 years.
Yeah. We've been talking about for ages. We've been talking about since his debut for the Titans, when he made 120. This was a statement innings. This was an innings of genuine quality, and yes, Zim were a bowler short, and definitely a pace bowler short in terms of their selection. But you can only do what you can against the opposition that you're given, and he absolutely delivered. He walks into the squad of 15 wherever the test match has been played. Squad of 15, He walks in. The 11, that's a debate. That's a debate on the pitch, the conditions, the opposition, but absolutely. And you're right. If we're playing a home test in Centurion in 3 weeks, he plays for me. Absolutely, he plays. He plays absolutely. He really. I did think that his win of man of the match was a little bit surprising. We'll get into who I thought should have got man of the match, but
I know who you wanted.
It was a quality innings, no doubt. It was a quality innings, and a little bit fortunate. But you know what? If you make 150, it's very difficult to not get a little bit of luck at some point.
This is not going to be a Karan Nair situation. And also the other thing of he should have walked. Like, guys, come on.
No,
understand the spirit of cricket. I get it. But guys, no, man. Right? There's an umpire there for a reason. If he's not going to give you it, and it's whether you believe you hit it or not. Right? But if the umpire says not out, the letter of the law is that you're not out. Right? Even if you hit it, doesn't mean you're a cheat. Right? And this word around Luandre needs to stop now. Like, if guys want to fight, come, we'll fight. Just leave the kid. Yeah. He's a kid, right? How many times have people not walked in the history of cricket and you want to pick on him now, thinking that you had a chance, that Zim had a chance? Zim had no chance in this test match, even from the start of the game. Yes, you had us, 20 for 23 for 3. Yeah, we get it. But at the end of the day, we beat you by over 200 runs. Like, it wasn't going to change the fact that your team was imbalanced and, Blessing had an injury and, Brian Bennett got hit. Brian Bennett has a concussion. And there were so many things going wrong for Zimbabwe that even if Rwanda was out for 30, South Africa still would have won. It would have been a dicey first inning score, but South Africa still would have ended up winning because in that second inning, South Africa had free reign. But leave Rwanda alone.
Yeah, okay. Leave him alone. Ridiculous.
Yeah, because kid's a star. My word. Superstar. And I'm looking at betters on some betters. I know you scored some really crucial runs in the World Test Championship, but this is what it is. Luandre goes to the top of the list of the next batter in. He even goes above Tony after that 150.
Yes.
That's where I sit it, right? You have your 6 batters that you've selected for the game, right? Including Ryan. And obviously Vian is different because, Vian's, doubling into the Jacques Kallis role. And then if there's an injury in any of the positions, Luandre walks in. If Temba's injured, Bedingham bats at 4, Luandre bats at 5. If Aiden's injured, Luandre opens, right? If Vian is injured, you play Corbin Bosch and then you play Luandre as well, right? If Bedingham is injured, same thing. If Rix is injured, between Rix and Luandre, if Rix is injured, Rix just takes off Luandre. If Verena's injured, Luandre walks straight in to the side and he probably even takes the gloves. right? Between him and Ricks, you'll decide, right?
Yeah.
But at this point in time, what Luandre has done is what we've wanted from a Devil Brevis, what we've been wanting from a Matthew Bretsky, what we've wanted from a Tony, what we've wanted from all these other guys who are on this tour. A Zubair. Well, Zubair scored a century, back in the day, but we wanted someone to take it. And yes, you can tell me it's Zimbabwe, but this kid went there and said, I don't care who you are, I'm scoring runs. And to a certain extent, let's talk about the other one who came in at 6, the other youngster, Devil Brevis. He also, in that first innings, batted with positivity, did what was required of him, got a half century, didn't blast the door down, but he's put himself, after Luandre, maybe in that Bretsky axis. Maybe even you're going to try him before you even try Bretsky, right? What this test series was supposed to be is to figure out who the next batters are. I think we've got a clear line now as to what's going on, as to what's happening. In the second test, there's another opportunity for guys to fight for positions. It's not over for Tony. It's not over for Matthew. And it's also not over for Dewald. But you need runs. Runs are a currency. And this 19-year-old child is scoring them in bucket loads. And he's made a statement. Dewald Brevis, look, I think in life, I think it's not linear. Growth isn't linear, right? Even with Luandre. Luandre is going to have a patch where he goes down. Right now, we're riding high. We can see the talent and the ceiling. And he might dip a bit, but it's not going to be upwards. And I think with Dewald, what we need to get our heads around is that it's not going to be linear. And you're going to go up and down, similar to Stubbs. Stubbs is the same thing. Started like a rocket, came down a bit. Now he's trying to find his feet. Dewald is going to have to learn to find his feet in Test cricket. Dewald's going to have to learn that not every ball's a bad ball and needs to be hit outside. It needs to be held at the ground. What the difference between Luandre and Dewald is Luandre can identify good balls, and Dewald, to a certain extent, more better than Dewald. I'm not saying Dewald Brevis can't do that. What he's going to need to do is bat around about 80%, right? Put bowlers under pressure, yes, be more positive, but kind of create a more all-round game around him. But he's going to learn, and he's going to learn with mistakes. That second innings wicket, I did not like at all. At all. And the 50 showed us the promise. The duck showed us the other side, right? The frustration. And I think we're going to need to persist with him. He's going to be in and around squads, but I think he might need to be more limited over his focus for now and see what he can do. He will be in and around the squad as some sort of batting replacement, but I don't see, unless if he can rectify it. And that's the thing. I hate to obviously talk about what happens in the first test, but what I saw was great, might be good for the team, but at this current juncture, not knocking the door down. Maybe he changes it in the second test, and he also gives us a mammoth 100. Then it becomes a question of, okay, fine, we're taking him to Pakistan and India. Right now, I'm not there.
Yeah, I agree entirely. I was a little bit sad. Because we saw what he can do in that innings. We saw, yes, okay, he can play that innings. What we saw in the first innings, he can play the inner T20. What we want to see is what Luandre does. Luandre sees the situation. He sees, right, I'm wearing the whites today. Today I'm gonna score at 60% of what I normally am capable of scoring at a T20 because I want to be here for a long time. Luandre was very clear in that very difficult period when he arrived at the crease. I want to be here. I want to bat. Yeah. Brevis is, I'm in a Lamborghini. I don't want to drive slowly. I want to drive a Lambo how you're supposed to drive a Lambo, fast. And that was exciting. It was exhilarating, but it was a difference between him making 50, which he made, and 150.
Yes,
because he was taking that leg spinner apart in that first innings, but it was so short. that the leg spinner got him in the end. Said, you know what? I've got your number. I've gone for 7 and over, but I've got your number. I've got you.
Just drag the length back.
You know, that's the moral of the story.
Yeah, I like your analogy. Yes, Tim.
No. So
I like your analogy. So what I was going to say is, I like your analogy. It's about the exuberance of youth, right? He's young, right? He wants to drive the Lambo at 250 kilometers per hour on the highway, right? And that's good, and that's great, you know. But like I always say, guys get test match ready in their mid-20s. Look at the one guy who's here at Corbin Bosch. He spent 10 years in domestic cricket, playing first-class cricket, and now he looks like, oh, he's popping. A whole 10 years later, right? It takes time for you to learn the game, learn the cadence, and of whatever sport you're doing, right? And to expect that from a 22-year-old is tough, especially when Luandre is coming in saying, I'm getting the hang of this. But people are different, and I think we need to treat them differently, and I think he will get there. He's going to be very important for South Africa. Might not be in this cycle, but I do think the next cycle, World Test Championship cycle, he'll be very important. It's just about learning the cadence of Test match cricket and first-class cricket. Also with the quality of the bowling. Bowling is better than domestic cricket bowling, right? It's I think it's a little bit better. It's not solely better, but he's getting out to balls that he shouldn't be getting out to. And that's the difference between him and Luandre. And that's the difference in the season with the Titans between him and Luandre. Luandre, more hundreds, higher average, and to a certain extent, a much better batter in that Titan side as a youngster, right? And so I don't want to have the comparison of the both of them. But what I'm saying is, one kid is driving a Mercedes AMG on the highway, pushing it at around 150 in a 120 zone. The other one has a Lamborghini, because I think Dewald has a wider array of shots than Luandre. So it's a Lamborghini, but he's actually driving it at 200 and losing control. There's a semblance of control with Luandre. There's no semblance of control with Dewald. And it's going to be like Rishabh Pant when he started. The question is, we need Dewald to get us to his good days must be centuries. His bad days can be ducks. I've got no issues. Cricket's a game of failure. You can't be just a half century and out. It must be 100 and out. And Rishabh Pant is the best guy to look at this, right? Rishabh does not care. He plays like that, and we're willing to take that risk. The question is, we'll only take that risk if you can guarantee us 75 runs up, right? And your bad days are ducks. We're happy with that because we liked the positivity. We liked all of the things he was showing. It's just that he needs to just drop that pace a little bit. Just drop it a little bit. Let some balls
go through the gears. Go through the gears.
And so that's it. But still, great test match for Dewald. Also with the leg spinning thing, I was like, yes, finally. Now this team is seemingly somewhat coming out to be well-rounded. Very, very much well-rounded. Then the next question we needed to go through, Tim, is the senior player Mulder. That's what we used to call him here on One World Sports Radio. We used to call him senior player. He carries himself as senior player. He's now going to be the 20th test captain of the Proteas. I think it's 20. I think so. And obviously Kesh is injured. And it came out and he's injured. And so Vian's now been named as captain of the second test. 100 batting in the second innings. Was it first or second innings? Took a forfer. I don't want to compare him to Jacques Callis, but he's the closest person we've had to Jacques Callis. And I've always said this, Vian is at his best if he bats in the top 6. I've said this throughout the 4 years of this podcast. I don't care if he's a number 3, but he's proving to relish this role. And as Coach Shukri spoke about in the press conference, you give him more responsibility, he takes it up. And to a certain extent, in my world, I think, yeah, carry on. Bat on, Vian. Bat on. And obviously now you're going to lead us. Lead us, Vian. And I like the fact that he opened the bowling in the second innings. I like the fact that he took it upon himself when Corbin and Gwena weren't taking wickets to come up and, be the guy. And to a certain extent, that helps us because then he's going to be a great third and fourth option. And remember those great bowling attacks that the Proteas had, where Jacques Kallis would either be a fourth option or third option, depending on whether Morne Morkel, Andre Nel, any of the other third seamers that we've had in the side were either hot or cold. If you needed a wicket, you threw the ball to him. He's becoming more reliable as a bowler and even more reliable as a batter, averaging 50 with the bats in the last 2 years and 23 with the ball as well. That's the Vian we want. If this can continue, we're going to make that World Test Championship final in 2027 and in 2029 and potentially in 2031. Why? Because we have an all-rounder that can bat in the top 6, score hundreds in the top 6, and then on top of that, take wickets like a third seamer.
If he works out, it solves a problem that we have had since Jacques Kallis retired. That's how long we have been waiting for a settled all-rounder to go into the Test side. We have gone through a whole host of players, but if this purple rain continues wherever he's batting, it solves a whole lot of issues, and it gives us so much more strength as a team. It would be astronomical if it continues.
Unlike 7 batters, 4 bowlers. Just simple.
I'm like you. I'd rather he was at 6, but if he's going to continue to score runs at 3, then I'm not gonna complain. But I said it weeks ago. You said it weeks ago. We would ideally rather he was at 6. He has publicly, though, said that he's hidden behind the role of extra responsibility with batting, having the use of the ball. He actually wants to bat more. That's what he wants to do. He wants to be able to give him the responsibility to bat more. So this is obviously what he wants. It's now up to him to produce it to higher quality opposition. And long may it continue.
And guys, again, it's not Zimbabwe. It's not. You can't come and tell me a Test century is a Test century anywhere in the world. It's as hard as anything else, especially harder now in the T20 world where it's slapdash. That Test century was him being positive. And the great thing I like about where we've moved in terms of Test cricket, right? Yes, everyone was a little cautious back then, but everyone's playing positively. They're not playing aggressively. You're being positive. And the thing about Vian is in the first couple of overs, first couple of balls, if he's looking to get a run, looking to get a strike, you got Vian for lock. And that's how I saw at the World Test Championship. I was like, he's come in, he's changed his demeanor, and he's like, I'm going to try to get to the other side. And if that's the Vian who's just looking for runs everywhere, while you've got stroke makers around him, very deadly. He's a stroke maker himself, but it's that intent, and he just needs to keep that intent going. If he lets it go and is trying to save a wicket and do all of that like he did in the first innings, you're obviously going to get caught out. You're going to need to try to be positive, especially in tough bowling conditions, because that first morning was not a bowler's paradise, but it was up for the bowlers. Okay, and then now to my apology. As a broadcaster, we have opinions, and we can change our opinions when we are given new information. And some who have had stocks in this man for a very long time are now obviously millionaires, i.e. Coach Toyana, Coach Jeff, well done. But on my end, I didn't have any stocks in this man, and I didn't think he was going to give us much. I just thought he was glorified domestic bowler and a batter who couldn't have scored 100 in domestic cricket, in first-class cricket. But I'm converted now. And in the face of new information, one must turn. So what I'd like to say is to Corbin Bosch, I am sorry. I apologize. I do not know ball. I'm just a guy talking about cricket, trying to create ratings. What you've done in this game, you've created a headache for the Proteas selectors going forward. An incredible headache. A test match 100 is a test match 100 is a test match 100. I don't care if it's against Zimbabwe or if it's against Australia. Corbin, it's yours. You've got it for the rest of your life. And then on top of that, you give us a fifer. So now we're sitting in a situation where you have taken your opportunity. You may not have scored the runs in domestic cricket, but in the last couple of years you have. You've been averaging in the 70s. Your wickets have been going, and you've been taking wickets at a lower average than you normally did. Your cricket for average is around about 30, 40 for wickets, but it's in the last 2 years, it's closer to 23. Corbin, there's nothing more I can say. Congratulations. What a knock. What 100 that was. What a knock at a time where we needed to kind of ice the game, and you iced it for us in that first innings. And then you came on and then took a fifer in the second innings when it looked like it was tough for the bowlers, and you did that. And so my question, Tim, is what do we do with Corbin? What do we do with him?
We say, Marco, you've got a competitor. Your place is not guaranteed in the 11. You need to be producing more, particularly with the bat, for your talent. It's a headache, dude. It's a headache because if the thing that you ended there is quite right. If he's getting bounce out of a surface as flat as that was, then he has to be in the equation for India.
And Pakistan.
And Pakistan. There has to be an equation for somebody who can get a surface, something out of a surface which is on the flat side of things. He would be an asset. You have to say right now that there's a decent chance of him making that 15 for those tours.
No, it's not a decent chance. He's a shoo-in.
Yeah. Sorry.
If he's not there, I'll be riding outside of CSA offices. They're just down the road. I'll literally be picketing outside of it, asking for Corbin. Because now I'm Team Corbin. Yes, his share price is already at 100 Rand when you guys bought him at 0. But I'm coming in. I'm buying. I'm buying as much stock as you want. Because here's the thing. I don't want us to go down the England route. Many all-rounders or whatever it is. But if I look at Chris Wokes and Corbin Bosch, I'm sitting there going, I think Chris has a test match 100. But I'm sitting there going, if he can be like a Chris Wokes to England, even though he's not an out-and-out wicket take. So my thing is this, right? If I need to go take wickets, I still look to Mpho and Kagiso, right? My fundamental premise of what's your primary job? Your job is to take wickets. In this test match, he got a fifer, so that's already thingy, but then he's added more with the bat. It's a problem for Marco. What I say is there a situation where you can go Kagiso, Marco, Corbin as your 3 seamers? And Corbin bats at 7, Marco bats at 8, Kagiso bats at 9, Keshav bats at 10. Or what?
Certainly.
No. Corbin 8, Marco 9, Kagiso 10, and Keshav 11.
Yeah.
And then you've also got Vian.
Yeah. Everything is open now. I saw a clip of him this morning, and I think it was Pollock asked him, every time you put on a white shirt for the Proteas to perform. And that's true. I mean, it's only 2 tests, but it's 2 tests
White,
that had
pink, yellow, green. I don't understand it. It's like he's and this is the thing about why Shukri is so important, right? The players that Shukri's always selected, you always have a question mark around them because sometimes domestically the stats don't stack up. The only guy he selected where the stats stacked up was Ryan. Aiden, his average isn't great over his career. You guys are fighting me about Temba every second day of the week. Tony, we also were 50-50, but he had scored that double century, and we were like, maybe he can come in. Ryan, no, not Ryan, Verena. Carl's technique is is wonky, to say the least. And I think he'll laugh at that. He scored the winning runs in the World Test Championship. That's all you'll ever get, Kyle. But it works, right? And Bedders was overlooked the entire time. Last 10 years, he was overlooked, right? Corbin, same thing. Domestic cricket, we were like, is he going to do it? What's going on? But brings him in and he shrines. And to a certain extent, all those guys have had their moment in the sunlight where they've vindicated the selection. Corbin has vindicated the selection to the point where people were having arguments in London around why didn't they pick Corbin over Lungi? Because they thought Lungi was on the decline and Corbin was ascending. And those people have valid arguments today, even on top of that, the bonus runs, because Corbin's runs are a bonus, right? At 8, they're a bonus. I don't expect much, but I want you to at least give me proper technique and get me 60, 70 runs. If you can get me 60, 70 runs between 8, 9, 10, and 11, even close to 100 runs, we win most test matches, right? And so Corbin changes the algorithm, because then you're sitting there going, he may not necessarily be our third best seamer, but if we look at Kagiso and Marco, Corbin's a very above average first change bowler in international cricket. And if Kagiso's there, the burden to take wickets isn't there, but you're not necessarily, it's a step down from KG and Marco, which is why, to me, Marco is still in the 11. It's just Corbin just buys us insurance. Corbin is the insurance at home when wickets are like what we got against India, where it's just it's a minefield. And then he can just, figure out what we need to do and get runs. And so that's where I'm sitting with him, is that to a certain extent, I think he might be in the 11. In Pakistan, I don't think so. I think you might have to go the route of a spin bowling all-rounder like a Mutusami or something like that, or even an off-spinner to kind of balance out the attacks. But if India are going to go 3 seamers with Bumrah, Siraj, and Shardul and 2 spinners, we have the flexibility to do that now. We have the flexibility to have Kagiso, Corbin, and Marco take 1 batter out and have 2 all-round, a spinner, and you still can cover the batting. Your tail's not as long as you want to be, right? Because he's shown that he has the ability. And I think his ceiling is now higher than Marco's, because he's done what we've wanted Marco to do for years in 6 months.
Yeah. I can't get over the fact, for me, that we've been discussing the sort of lower all-rounder, lower middle order all-rounder spot. And we have been discussing Ruan Swat, Bear Swanepoel, Apali, Mupungwana. And if you'd said to me, those 3 and Corbin, I'm picking all the other 3. If you said to me a year ago, I'm picking the other 3 every single day of the week. Yeah. His transition into a Protea has been absolutely remarkable. Absolutely remarkable. It just shows you what a good coach really and a good talent spot that Shukri deserves a lot of credit for this selection, because it's not one that I would have made for the reasons that I just explained, that I mentioned, and B, to create that environment for him to succeed. Mm-hmm. Because I think most people would have done British talk is. He's compatible. He's a lot, and of course, so does Boshi. Bosch absolutely given the chance, and he's delivered. You can't really say any more than that.
No, you can't. And my thing is, he goes there, and your question then is, as a selector, is, are lower order runs important, or is taking wickets important? But at this point in time, he's bowling just as good as Lungi. The only difference is I think Lungi's a little bit got more skill than him. He's got different variety of balls than him, right? Yeah. But yeah, Corbin, hats off to you, my man. Well done. Well done. Incredible game. And to a certain extent, for me, it was between Corbin and Vian for man of the match. And I went Vian. Where did you go?
I went Corbin, just for the fact that he contributed so massively with bat and ball. It was just it just blew everyone out of the border. And from a performance point of view, it made sense. I understood Lwandre, but I still would have gone Corbin for me.
Yeah, no, that's true. Now let's talk about the bowlers, right? Cody Yusuf didn't do himself an injustice or disservice. Bowled really well, very quick. I really like him. I think, our bowling stocks are there now. You've got Corbin, you've got him, you've got Nandre, you've got Gerald. We've got a very good bowling core that you can spread around all three. And I think Cody just bowled really well, man. Just getting that and making use of the new ball. He looked like the only threat at some points in the game when the Proteas were bowling. Especially in that start of that second innings when it looked like wickets were tough. He looked like the only threat. I'm just excited for the second test because I think he's going to do more, right? And I think that's the thing for him. I think he needs to cement his place as kind of like a squad player or someone who is at the same level as the Geralds and the Nandres, right? And I think it's about time he does that. He's a lot skiddier, so it's a different type of a bowler, but he did not, hurt his stocks in this game. He actually improved them, in my opinion.
He becomes in the discussion when they have the discussion for the next tours. He's absolutely in the discussion. I'm delighted for it because I've been watching him the last 18 months. I don't know where it's come from, but the last 18 months he's gained an extra yard of pace, and that extra yard of pace of a good length that you see rushes batsmen. And that is the difference maker. That is the difference between picking somebody like him or Michael Pretorius.
Yeah.
Cody has an extra yard of pace. He has a surprise bouncer. He has the ingredients of a test match fast bowler.
Yeah, no. And look, it's going to be interesting with him and who's the guy who moved from the Warriors? Who went to the not Duan, who went to the Lions from the Warriors. Bad podcasting, people. I've forgotten his name. If you know his name, please let me know. Bear Swanepoel. Him and Bear. He's look. Here's the thing. He's not. Look. If he goes to Pakistan, I don't think he gets there. But Bear Swanepoel and Cody Yusuf on the Lions in 4-day cricket. You got to be kidding me. Anyway, we're just going to be talking about that. And maybe Kwena, because I think Kwena kind of showed us the exuberance of youth. Like I say, it's not linear. It's going to be up and down. And you got to allow them to learn. You're going to have to sit through the mistakes. Just like Deva Brevis in that bad shot, you're going to have to sit through those spells of Kwena and him being inconsistent and him being all of that. And I ask for grace for Kwena and the Devot, right? They might not be ready now, but in 2 years' time, they'll be ready. But what they need to do is they have to learn how to bowl and bat at this level. And Kwena just showed us all of that. And my frustration with Kwena is you put him in a situation where you made him your frontline wicket taker. And it didn't work out. What I'm asking is bowl him with a senior player. So I think maybe if he plays this test, I'm not sure if he does. If he plays his next test, he should be first change. He shouldn't bowl with the hard rock, right? And you should ease him in to the game and make him learn how to do it. He's more dangerous as a first change, largely because you've got a first change bowlers bowling 150 k's an hour. No matter how hard it is, how easy it is to become to bat, 150 k's is 150 k's, and that's what Corbin is as too, right? And that's my thing to him. I'd say bowl fast. Just get it there. Learn to be consistent, but keep bowling fast. We have to learn control in that Lamborghini. And so too with Deerveld, right? You have to learn the control of your skill while going at 200 kilometers per hour because you're at the pinnacle of Test cricket. And so they're going to have to learn how to do it. The talent is there. It's just we're going to have to sit through this. And these are the things we need to work through with a Gwena, with a Deerveld, with any other youngster we bring into the side. You're going to have to go through the ups and downs, give them the opportunities, give them the time. I don't think Gwena goes to India and Pakistan, but I do think this year's domestic season, he's going to play it entirely. Him, Cody Yusuf, and Bear Swanepoel. I'm sorry, guys. I really, might as well just give us the trophies. All three of them. Give us the trophies now. Just give the Lions the trophies now.
Putting that aside, I agree with everything you said. I'm not worried about Gwena and his performance in the first test. We will obviously, I'm sure, get into what's happening in the second test. I'm a little bit surprised that he's probably going to play the second test, but in terms of his performance, I wasn't worried. It's a learning curve. He's going to be special. Don't worry, he will come good. It's going to take a little bit of time. He's going to work it out for himself. He's a bright boy. I'm not worried.
And he actually might even work it out in the second test himself. He might just take a 7-fer. And then we're all just sitting here going, okay, we're just worried for nothing. But again, it's not linear. It's going to be this. There's going to be lots of this. But the growth and progression, you'll see it. And in that second innings, you got to see him go, I've got all these balls. I'm going to try use 2 or 3 of them. Right? Try and set up batters. It didn't work out the way because he didn't get a wicket in the test. But in that second innings, if you watched him, you're like, oh, cool. And here's the thing. He's not the second KG. Please don't put that on. KG is special. KG is like a Luandre, right? He arrived, he found the right line and length, and he just stuck the ball there many times over. I don't know what's in him that he can be as consistent as this, but there's a few of them. But some of them you have to learn. Pat Cummins was like a Gwena. Erratic when he arrived in South Africa, shone brightly, didn't shine brightly, got injured, all that stuff. And then in 26, 27, he then became the Pat Cummins you know now. Same thing. I think Starkey was just like day one. He was just on the length. He was just unplayable, right? Hazelwood as well. It takes time for these things to grow, for you to get this. So give guys a chance and give him a chance. Okay, let's go to the second test. A couple of things. Playing at the same venue. Obviously, it'll be a different pitch. So we might get something similar. It's probably going to be a game time decision as to whether you play 2 spinners or not. The only thing is Keshav is injured. He picked up a groin injury, so they brought in Senaran Muchasamy. As we spoke, Vian's senior player Mulder is now captain. Congratulations, Vian. So now the question is, right? Obviously, we had batters who failed, Tony, Matthew Bretsky. Do you change the 11? Do you make any changes to the 11? Obviously, there's the who replaces Keshav question at this point in time, so there will be a change. So what do you do for the second test?
So I'm going to say what I will do, and then I'm going to say who's very lucky for what's just happened. I would bring in, so Sen comes in for Maharaj with Zami. That's a no-brainer for me. And then I think you make a change at the top.
Okay.
And I think you're going to say to Matthew, it's not a reflection of you. It's more a reflection. I want to see what Senakwani can do. So, it's unfortunate that he didn't get enough runs at the first test from his own point of view. Senakwani comes in for Britsky for me at the top of the order.
Yeah.
I think if Maharaj was fit, I think Pettis might have sat out the second test. They might have gone, you know what, we'll move things around. And they might have brought in a Hamza for Pettis. I just think for experience, not just international, but experience within the team, that helps. I think that he is probably going to stay for the second test. And also, I think Shukri trusts these players. He backs these players. So he probably is going to give somebody like Pettis, who isn't performing at the level that you would expect him to, a a little bit of a longer run than you might expect.
Okay, that's an interesting one. Yeah, I think it's quite interesting. I think my test 11 has 3 changes, 2 changes, and we'll discuss the third. The first change is the same one you picked. Sinukwana comes in for Bretsky, right? At the top of the order. The second change is Subrian comes in for Keshav, because what Shukri was talking about was he wanted to see an off spinner, and he didn't pick Sen for this one because he wanted to have an opportunity to have an off spinner play before Pakistan, right? So I do think Subrian plays in terms of Kesh, and Kesh and Sen is just there because of injury. That's all concussion. So that's the trade-off there. And then the other one is I make a change in the middle order. I don't necessarily. So between me, it's between Brevis and Bedders. One of the two sits out. I'm preferring Brevis to give Britsky one last chance. I think what I've seen with Dewald is that essentially I think maybe he needs to be a starter in the T20s and the ODIs. But I want Matthew in and around for Pakistan. I think he's got the right stuff for Pakistan, but make Matthew bat in the middle order. So that position number 4, where Bedders is batting, you do that and you just shift everyone 1 down. So Luandre bats at 6. So I'd want to make a shake up there. I don't think Zubair, we know what Zubair can bring. But Zubair effectively was cover for Vian. If Vian gets injured, he plays. And I do think there's a situation where, with the way Corbin played, and if Vian was, if Keshav wasn't injured, I'd bring in Zubair in there at 3 and potentially move Bedders out either and give Bretsky a chance, right? Any of this top 6 should beat Zimbabwe. I'm not worried about that. Even about I don't want experience and all this other stuff. What I'm trying to get a sense of, and even I don't want to play Bedders into form. I know what I get from Bedders, right? He's the starter, right? This is why I was also a Tristan somewhere here but even then, you know what? Tristan needs runs, and he's not in Zimbabwe, right? So give Bedders a bit of a rest. Tell him to go back to England, do something, right? But my thing is, try and give Matthew another chance in the middle order and see how that looks. But because of the injuries, my 3 changes are Sonogwani at the top for Britsky, but Britsky moves into the middle order for Bedders, who gets a rest, and Subrian to get his debut for Kesh. If it's spinner friendly, I sit Kwena for Sen. So potentially 4 changes, because when we arrived in Bulawayo day 1, there was a lot of grass. If there's no grass on that pitch, it's a road, and they are going with their all spin lineup, and that's what's going to happen. But I doubt they're going to do that. So I think 3 changes.
Yeah, I think yours are better. I think yours better for the reasons that you explained. I'd certainly like Subrian to get a go. I think Subrian, for the numbers that he's produced over the last 3 years, performances with South Africa A, he deserves that promotion. He deserves that Test cap. So,
and he's a senior bowler. He's a senior player. So I'm not worried about him. And it's not like I'm putting him in against Australia and asking him to hold an end, or against England, right? I'm asking him to hold an end against Zimbabwe, who are good and are a better opposition than what he's ever faced. And we just want him to see if he can step up as an off spinner. We need to know if he's going to Pakistan. Chances are he is, because we need an off spinner. We need to, divorce ourselves from Aiden being the off spinner. And so you want to play 2 spinners in Pakistan. We know it's Sen. It's not Sen. It's Keshav or Subrian. And Mutusami comes in as a batting all-rounder to fight for position with Corbin and or Marco.
Correct. Yeah, that makes sense. Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Second test happening in the next couple of days. Just want to get that for you. Just give me a moment. Second test starting on Sunday this time, which is going to be very interesting. And so it's lots of time for the boys to do it, but like what we're seeing is Shukri has some sort of special sauce to get the players who haven't necessarily had the best domestic careers to shine. And and the thing with Shukri is if you knock the door down, you knock the door down. It's an opportunity for all the guys who are going to be playing on Sunday onwards to also say, I'm here too, count me in. It's a good thing for South African cricket. What Corbin, what Vian, what Luandre, what Deerveld, what Cody have done is a good thing. Create the headache, let them deal with it. You do everything you can to make sure that you are on that plane, because you never know what's going to happen once you're on that plane.
Yeah, agreed. I'm just having some slight internet problems, but I agree entirely. Agree entirely.
Yeah. Okay. Everyone. That's the end of our show. Enjoy the second test. Good luck to the Proteas and the guys who are going to be getting their opportunities. This is a great part of cricket, is watching guys. And this is why we watch domestic, right? Guys are trying to put their hands up to make it to the Proteas, and you look for special performances. What we watched last week from Vian, from Luandre, from Deerveld, from Corbin, from Cody, and from the rest of the team as a whole was special. Watching guys trying to see if they can't make a name for themselves in this team. And that's why we do this. We love what we do, love talking about cricket. We love analyzing this. And to a certain extent, it's going to be great. It's going to be great. And it's not over for those who didn't have a great time. Sunday presents a second opportunity, and that second opportunity could be the opportunity that unlocks a future in the side. So really, really excited. Remember, please do like and subscribe. Follow us on Full Quarter Pod on X. Like and subscribe on YouTube if you love what this content. And then on top of that, on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, please do search for Full Quarter Podcast. Really sorry about the sniffles and the internet issues, but look, it's the dead of winter over here, but we still love what we do. And finally, thank you very much for the contributions in the Buy Me a Coffee. Please do keep them coming. And remember our rebranding. Please do send us comments and what your thoughts are of what we need to do from the start of the new season in August. There are some shows we have lined up. We're going to have to talk about who's moving where. We also need to do some SA20 work as well. And we're also going to might even have to do an IPL show for all the South Africans, because Tim hates it, I hate it, but it's what you guys want. And I think if we can do that and make the game of cricket a little bit more fun to relate to and to engage with, that's what we want here at the Full Quarter Podcast. But outside of that, for myself and Tim, it's goodbye and lesale katagiso.